Alright guys, so we've put a carb in behind the fuel injection. We could run both, eh, and have a super speed. So technically we need to kind of connect the airbox, which there's no way in hell.
You can put an open air filter on it.
I've got one, we could do it. Alright, I'll look at putting a pod on for now. I mean, I hate running pods. All we really want to do for now is see if it runs. So actually guys, we are going to connect some fuel up. And we are going to turn it over. Remember, all of the ignition, all of these wiring is not plugged in because we don't want it doing all that crap. So let's see what this thing does. Electric ignition. Check this out when Stuart... That's not petrol, that's Stuart. Stuart! One more, Stuart. People will like that, look. Alright. A good thing about that, John, is the computer will control how much fuel is needed to go to the carb that we set up that it's not sure is on there.
I like the colour.
No, that's going black.
Oh, I like
the rest of the bike's black. Everything's black.
It looks really antique.
No way, no way. I'll get 1100 for that.
Lacquer it like that.
No, John, it's Chinese.
Lacquer it.
If it was British and 40 years old, you get away with lacquering that. That's 3 years old. That's going black. You know what we might need to do while we're powered up? Use that power to drain it into the can. I'll say, okay guys, so Stuart and John are doing the fuel tank. Now basically, because that tank ran off the electric system from the bike, that told it when to spit out fuel like you saw. So it primed at startup, but then it wasn't pumping otherwise because it didn't know that our carb was using fuel. So we've adapted it for free flow to the carb, and of course the float will shut off the fuel at that stage. Stuart's going to pop off the fuel sender so that we can see gauge how much fuel is in the bike, and then we're going to matte black that tank so it's ready for tomorrow. What I'm doing is, this is the intake for the bike, the original intake, so it's the best fit, it works, but we need to lose that hole on top and that hole to the side because we don't need it. Now what I'm going to do is use quick steel, you know, or Milner's, any kind of putty that's designed to kind of turn to a metal. I'm going to do that on here, set it so that they're no longer in there, and then this becomes your intake connection to the carb, and it's going to be a little bit better than it was before because it's proper, it's going to be done properly. Now any of the connections for the old system, they're just not needed. I'll just get rid of them, put them aside. We don't need them. We're going straight fuel flow down into the carb, and the carb carries on like normal, so that's fine. I'm much happier with that. I do want to put the airbox on though. I mean, John's convincing me to use a cone. If I had a cone I might use a cone, but if I can get the airbox to work I will do it if I can. So this is exciting. These are the kind of days I like. People busy doing things, trying things out. Alright guys, still got John and Stuart down here. The fix for the intake is over here. It's a kind of liquid steel. It comes in two part. You mush it together and you make what turns rock solid. Metal like, and actually it is rock solid, smooth on the inside. That's spot on. What you can do is put tape around it if you're really worried, but we're kind of thinking about exhaust options on that bike because it will be good. But let's start looking at some paint. I've got satin today. I'm going to just layer it on thin. I've scuffed the pad already, scuffed the tank already, layering it on thin, 2 or 3 layers, and then I can go on as thick as I want. I'm not too worried about the middle area at the moment. I'll just stay away from it as much as possible, or I'll bung it up with something after, but ultimately I'm going to be spraying it quite carefully but thin at the moment. This is what happens with me, Stuart. I hit a block. It's 5 o'clock. I got her at 9:30. Tank looks great, guys. Not matte, not gloss, it's satin, this one. But even though I'm right mid-flow, I'm going to start packing up generally. I'll show you kind of what I mean, this bike was not, I wasn't looking at this bike today. It's only when John turned up and said, let's have a look. So I put that on and that's all sealed up now. That's literally just the intake manifold now. That's all that's become. And then tomorrow, I'm around tomorrow, so I will put the car back on full time. But I do want to get the airbox to fit as well. So I'm going to have to try and work that out. It's such a shame. The fuel tank, technically, I would have preferred to have gone on tomorrow. But see this here? It's the fuel sensor, and the bike doesn't have a reserve tank. Now tomorrow I might change my mind and I might put this on and seal it, and this tank just won't have a fuel gauge, and you just have to be wary. We've used bikes for many years with no fuel gauges. You just have to poke in your tank and know when to fill it up. I might, because that could be the quickest way of a sale. I was saying to Stuart that actually we haven't got a logbook for this one. I've checked online, and it's obviously not stolen. We know that anyway, but no logbook, and people just don't like buying without a logbook. Now I'd rather give someone a better deal and buy, and then they wait the 6 to 8 weeks. That's all it is. You just have to fill out the fee 62 and wait. So if anyone is interested in this, I'm pretty sure this has some MOT, but I can always throw a year on it, I'm sure. I'll at least get it up to that standard. So if anyone's interested in this, in the next video, I'm sure it will be ready. I'm probably very premature there, actually. The Piaggio Fly, I was saying to Stuart again, it needs a cable, a speedo cable and the speedo drive on the wheel. And it needs the right trim panel. And that's it, really. It's got an alarm on it. It's a ULEZ compliant. It's a 125. It drives beautifully. Yes, seat cover. Tomorrow I'm going to try and get some material and just do a basic seat covering myself on it. That's my thoughts at this stage. And this one at the moment, I'll just put it aside. There's no huge rush, no logbook for it. It takes ages. So that's it. I've really enjoyed the last 2 days working here. I love this, all these bikes kicking about. I just, this is what it's about. I really like looking over and seeing Stuart and John doing the work, while I'm doing something here, and that's what this garage is about. Turn up, pick up a tool and try something. I'm never going to tell you off. The bikes are crap to start with. If you snap a bolt, you snap a bolt. I'm not here to moan at you. So if you ever want to come and try picking up a wrench, do it, eh? Stuart, it's not horrible here. It's not uncomfortable, is it?
No, I'll come back a second time, so it can't be that bad.
Be nice if we had coffee and a toilet. But ultimately, guys, people are welcome to drop in and have a little look at what we're doing and help out. So as always, thanks for watching. Do drop a comment, no matter how rubbish or silly you think it is. It just adds to the algorithm. Please do subscribe. I haven't asked for ages to subscribe, but I think I'm at 3.5. I think it's flying. And let me know what you think about the project so far. This one, that one, and that one. I think that one's going to be up and running and ready quite quick. My guess is it will have electrical issues, but we'll sort that out at the time. So yes, welcome back. Yesterday you saw bits and pieces on this bike. That was kind of us just working out the ins and outs at this stage. But ultimately I did a bit of research. I'm a bit funny like that. I like to look up the bikes I'm working on. And the EFI model, which I believe it's called, is this bike here. Now, basically, brand new from the factory, it ran like crap. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not built badly. It was smooth, but they designed it to run slow. It barely hit 50, and they designed it to really just sip the fuel. And it's all about this modern crap in regards to speeds and emissions, actually, guys. And it just winds me up. So I was looking this bike up, and I was thinking, how do you tune? How do you make it a bit more usable? I mean, how do you make it start? We saw it was spitting fuel out. We saw it was happy with the amount of fuel it was getting. but it wouldn't start. That's because it barely started anyway out the factory. It's absolutely sipping the fuel. Something like 120 miles to the gallon or something. Anyway, long story short, thinking about it, I was thinking, I want to put a carb on this. I want the old-fashioned air-fuel mixture that I can control. And then, of course, yesterday you saw me really loosely shove a carb on, and it fire up and sound amazing. It's going to have a much better air-fuel mix than the original bike did, and we're probably going to have the quickest lexmoto Valiant on the road. Today's video will be kind of working on this, really, guys, because it could be up and ready, really. We've got the new intake, the old intake actually, but it's got the holes blocked off here. The carb is about somewhere and ready and clean, and that's all good. One of the issues we had was the carb sticks out a little bit more this way. Now I've taken off a touch there by taking off a spacer, and I've taken off a touch on the carb by pushing it into its boot more. I do want the original airbox in here. I just prefer it. If it's a huge issue, I will get a cone, but because it will be kind of protected under here anyway. But ideally, no. Ideally, I want the airbox on. Apart from that, there's nothing much to worry about, really. I can't see any emissions control on here. I think that's done through the ECU. Yes, actually, there's no emissions control on here. So we're going to have almost a beefy 125. Me and John and Stuart, actually, who, thank you, Stuart, for my Pepsi Max. Stuart's lovely, guys. I know I don't throw him on camera much because I don't know how comfortable he is on it. Stuart, you can let me know next time, mate. People always do. They say I'm happy to be on it, or I'm not so happy. But yeah, it was really lovely having Stuart down, and John, of course. And guys, you're always welcome to pop down. Let me know. Drop me a message and say, Charlie, I'm heading to Islington, and can I come and see you on a Saturday or Sunday? Right. So today, the actual key for me is I want to get the carb on and the airbox on. The battery tray on, battery back in. Really, I want to get this bike on the button. I mean, it's extremely high hopes, but it can be done. And then any kind of paint areas that lay it down, I want to have a good look at. Get them sanded, get them touched up, etc., including this front mudguard. I mean, it's barely 3 years old, and look, it just bubbles. So I'll get it sanded down. And the actual main thing, the main job for today is the exhaust. I've got my circular sander there. Let me show you it. Actually, it's just easier for you. Here it is. This is the exhaust, and there's some sort of repair here, but we don't know how good or bad it is. You see, it's there, it's thick. It didn't appear to be blowing, guys. It really didn't. It didn't appear to be blowing, but I mean, look at the metal on here. So I'm going to be cleaning up the whole exhaust from a you know, from a point of view of rust, and then I'll be wrapping this way. So Daniel Barnes taught me that a long time ago. You wrap from the can first to the top, and painting the end black if I can get it smooth enough, which I will. That's on the inside anyway, let's be honest. Let me show you the other side. Look, I mean, that'll paint up fine. So I think we'll have a nice can today, and that's kind of priority number one for me, because I want the bike to be on the button. The tank's over here. It had its satin coats on it. It's been sitting maybe 18 hours now. That'll be enough to start kind of mocking it back up on the bike at some point. But it is not fuel proof. I might drop to Halfords today if I can get some matte petrol resistant lacquer or clear. I'll get some and I'll do that. So good. So the next step for me is really carb and airbox on, seated and booted. That's the most ideal for me at this stage. So I'm going to start playing with that a little bit, guys. So we're not going to tell John this ever, but he is right. The airbox won't fit in. Now here's my thoughts. I can put a cone on, and then I kind of want the airbox sitting around it anyway to give it a bit of weatherproofing, if that makes sense. So basically I want the cone to be kind of sitting in there. Now it's not easy because the whole thing is really tight, but that is going to be my aim. If I have to, I can cut away the whole front, but I prefer it like this for the cone to go in there. So it's on the carb, in there, like that. I'm kind of doing two things. Or, if that's, I mean, that would be really long-winded. Or, restrict this a little bit. Now, what you can do is, some of that air filter I was telling you about yesterday, you can literally push it in. See? The only thing you'd need to worry about is it being sucked through the carb, because obviously it's being sucked that way. So if I can push that in a way that it stays in there, I might do that to restrict it a bit. You only have to blow through these. They just let so much air in, and I know it kind of wouldn't matter. If I took that carb off again and upped it a bit, it wouldn't matter at all. But for me, it's about longevity of the bike. I need to restrict it a bit. The other thing you can do is you could layer something. Them old sweatbands from the 80s, 90s are good. You can put them over the top. They restrict it a bit as well. That was an old trick we used to do. But yeah, I want to do something. And the other thing you should really do with these is cut away the top. Basically, these carbs, let me see if I've got a spare here. See this carb here. That cutting there, the air going through this slot here is how the diaphragm sucks in and lifts the needle. That's how it works. And some of them have a secondary. In fact, it's there, look, that hole there. So basically you need to make sure they're clear. So normally I cut a slot at the top to make sure it's definitely clear, which I am going to do. And then the other thing is that this is a bit big, so I need to restrict it a little bit. I need some rubber or something to go around the edges to help it clamp, basically. So I think we are going to move to cone. We kind of got no choice, and I'm going to restrict it as much as I can. So when you're customizing anything, you're always going to come up against snags. The carb and air cone is on. Throttle cable, it's not too far off, but it's not going to reach because it's there. It needs to go to that, sorry, it needs to go to that bit in there, and then it needs to come around here. So I mean, it's not going to reach. It's not far off though. That's 90 centimeters. If I could get one at 120, for example, then that could possibly work. I mean, I'm looking at it. If you you could come down here, but I think it's going to look a bit silly. Could you come down here and under the tank and just get away with it? Maybe. I don't want to mess with a tight throttle cable once you start turning left and right. No good. So you need a cable that, this is 90 roughly, 86 to 90. I want kind of 120, and then I think we'll make that work. 120, 130 centimeters, and that will work. So let me get online and see what's there. But for now, to an extent, we can start piecing it back together. The end can, or the whole exhaust even, is looking like this. Very high temp black. That's how it's looking at the moment, and then the rest will be wrapped up to here. It's okay, actually. It's gone on okay. I'm just running the can out, so I'm just doing layers at the moment. Oh, we're nearly out anyway, look. I'm just using up what I've got. There you go, it's gone. And that's it. Let that dry, throw some wrap on. Cut.